His words pop the pompous balloons of falsity. His words trumpet the lasting visions of truth. He slices and dices words like a spinning kitchen appliance. He blows words like a spontaneous jazz musician. He uses words to instruct, to illuminate, to describe, to evoke emotions, to entertain. He uses words like a ventriloquist. They pop out from somewhere else. In his own words, he describes his favorite style of writing. Ongoing honesty with a little fancy skill salted in. This is something men should know, he said, and understand about themselves. A man should be allowed to be as big as he thinks he has it in him to be. This is also one of my convictions. A goddamn good thing to base a story on. It is a philosophy that is needed, is not overworked, and nobody has done it well just yet. I've tried it in my last book, and I'm trying again in this one. But man, it's big, the whole idea. It means giving the finger to any notion about God or any other all-powerful beings and saying, man is it. Man has got to be it. Man has got to be as big as he can possibly be, or we ain't got nothing. Make the hero bigger, not bigger in size. He could even be bigger in smallness. But I'm hung up on heroes. Give me stompers and roarers with hands like plow blades. Make him loom down the track like the 6010, 20 minutes late. Hair streaming out behind like black diesel smoke. Elbows like rods. Knees and feet a blur of circular blue steel. Look out the window, watch them drivers roll. That's a folk song. And yellow teeth raking out in front like a cow catcher. A hero who comes striding out of the mountains with salvation for all the weak. Freedom for the oppressed. And what does he get for trouble? And Pilate saith unto the people, he has done no wrong. I shall chastise him and set him free. And the people rose up and saying, no, give us Barabbas and crucify him. Crucify him. It's an old Jewish folk legend. Brother Chuck maintains that society manufactures its heroes and its villains. That the 4-minute miler came along because people had cleared a place on the shelf for him. That the Third Reich had the lightning arranged for Hitler before he had stopped hanging paper. Only partially true, I said. I am more than a product of a world of root-hungry folk singers, more than a write-in candidate for a liberal world with a latent John Birch desire. Am I a goddamn force, is what? That's the last page? Or is that the first page? That's the enraged page. The headline on the front page of the morning paper blared, Kesey commits suicide. The accompanying article said a note inside a pair of shoes was found on the beach. I, Ken Kesey, being of sound mind and body, do thereby live the whole scene to the Fay Corporation. Cash, the works, my last words. A vote for Barry is a vote for fun. Ocean, ocean, I'll beat you in the end. I'll break you this time. I'll go through with my heels at your hungry ribs. The headline on the front page of the paper blared, Kesey commits suicide. Be damned if I was going to go to the calaboose, Kesey said. I wrote that suicide note. Oh, I'll back up a minute here. He had been busted for grass atop a building in San Francisco, and he was up for getting sentenced, and so he wrote this suicide note and split for Mexico. Be damned if I was going to the calaboose, Kesey said. I wrote that note, stuck it in my sneakers, and got my cousin Dale, who looks enough like me to pass a quick look over, to drive to the beach in my old truck and leave the sneakers in the sand. My only worry was Dale not taking into account the tide, but everything worked out okay. And by then I was in Ron Boise's truck along with Zonker on our way to Mexico. We crossed over in the most desolate spot on the border that Boise knew, Sonoita, south of Gila Bend, Arizona. We found 2 places for rent on the beach, just off the road. One a cement house we called the Concrete Block House, with kitchen, dining room, table, 2 bedrooms, and a bathroom. The other, the Perino Warehouse, a red brick building with a long empty room and a small apartment with all the amenities. Kesey had enough money to pay for 3 months, and we settled in. The bus parked between the 2 buildings. We spent the evenings eating and drinking outside the bus, then went down to the edge of the ocean, hoping we would see the green flash as the sun dipped below the horizon. No luck. Everyone moseyed back to the house. Kesey and I stayed down by the water. He told me he had been throwing the I-Ching one night when a sudden electrical storm had blown in from the Pacific. "What's next?" was the question he asked the Ching. "I can't spend the rest of my life eating frijoles and dodging federales. What should I do?" And before I could even consult the answering hexagram, there was lightning everywhere. I pointed to the sky, lightning flashed, and all of a sudden I had a second skin of lightning, like a suit of electricity. And I knew it was in us to be superheroes, that we could become superheroes or nothing. He looked at me meaningfully. "Well, who can argue with the Ching?" I said. Whoa, I thought that was falling over. Kesey didn't say anything. I remained non-committal, reluctant to pledge allegiance to such a grandiose notion, no matter how tempting. Me, a superhero, save the world, a tall order. We contemplated the cosmos a while. Compost, I like that. Then went back to the bus and crashed. That's where we get some of our greatest visions. Cassidy took the 4-pound jackhammer from a tool compartment in the back of the bus, and shirtless and barefooted, standing in the sand facing the ocean, spent hours flipping the hammer in the air and catching it, doing double and triple flips, catching the hammer with one hand, then the other, pirouetting in a circle to catch it behind his back, missing the catch, falling on a knee and scoping it up, flipping it back in the air, not missing a beat. It was his daily regimen, his exercise, keeping his body lean and muscular, reflexes sharp, mind at one with the action. But he never went in the water, and it never occurred to us maybe Cassidy didn't know how to swim. So Neil Cassidy, everybody here know who he is? Anybody here who doesn't? I don't have to talk about him. Okay, tell who he is. All right, yeah, he became a real pal of ours. The house across the street was vacant all the time we were in Mexico. Now there was some kind of activity. We saw furtive shapes looking through their window at us. We conjured up the worst. Police were doing a surveillance. They were looking for Kesey, having word he was hiding in plain sight, a scant couple of miles from downtown Manzanillo. "Let's flush them out," I said. Our old pal, Bob Stone, now a published author, had wrangled a writing job from Esquire to go to Mexico and do a story about Kesey on the lam. "Are you kidding?" Bob said. "You're dealing with some mean heat down here, and I don't mean the weather." "No, that'll be all right," I said. "Kesey can lay low. None of the rest of us are under the gun." Hagen broke out the 16mm Airflex camera we used on the bus trip and mounted the 400-foot magazine on top so it looked more professional. He screwed the camera onto the wooden tripod and took it out front and set it up. Camera pointed at the supposedly vacant house. We didn't have any money, so there was no film in the camera, but who was to know? A few minutes later, the front door of the house opened and two men walked out. A slick-haired, mustachioed, portly gent with an authoritarian mien and a slimmer version of the first, seedier around the edges, both dressed casually in short-sleeved shirts and lightweight trousers. "I am Federal Agent Numero Uno," the dapper gent said. "We received words there were suspicious characters in a wildly colored bus running 2 houses on the beach, and I, unhappily, was taken off another assignment in order to investigate the circumstances." "Well, I can understand the confusion, seeing us as an unsavory element," I said, "but we are here on a 6-month vacation from our work as filmmakers and musicians in Estados Unidos." "Ha," he smiled. "That is Estados Unidos del Norte, to be correct, for I assume you are from the red, white, and blue." "Absolutely correctamente," I said. My high school Spanish almost forgotten, reduced to mostly adding an O to the English words, fudo or gasolino. Cerveza, I knew by heart. "Why don't we get out of this heat and retire to La Haciendas de Buffon and cool off over a cold drink?" He bowed. "Lead on, Macduff." I raised my eyebrows at Bob Stone. "What did we have here? A Shakespeare buff?" Bob shrugged. We walked to the bar. The English name of the tavern was the House of the Jester. The walls were covered with paintings and pictures of jesters in European courts and Mexican and nightclubs. "The reason we seem like suspicious characters is the sign on the top of our bus," I told Numero Uno. "It reads further, but according to what the shrimp seller on the waterfront told us, everyone thought it meant Führer, and we were Nazi party members hiding out in Mexico." Numero Uno laughed. "Our information was even more bizarre. We received reports that Russian submarines were hanging around off the coast, surfacing at night to study our defenses, as if Manzanillo would be a target for invasion. You were suspected as being agents put on the mainland to radio information to the submarine. We noted the amount of electronic equipment you installed in the Perina warehouse." "Our musical and recording instruments," I said. "You'll have to come listen to one of our nighttime sessions." "No need. I can see now these suspicions were unfounded," Numero Uno said. Kesey, wearing a sweat-stained Stetson, faded jeans held up by a wide leather belt with a bucking buckle, cowboy shirt with the sleeves ripped off at his armpits, red, white, and blue painted sneakers on his feet, picked that moment to come into the bar. Numero Uno looked him over. Who was this gringo, suddenly making his appearance? He hadn't seen him while doing the surveillance. Kesey gave him a big smile and stuck out his hand. "Saw Kraken Dancer," he drawled, "of the Durango Kraken Dancers. Heard my compadres were indulging in our mutual country's favorite pastime. So I decided I'd better join in before they get falling down without me." Numero Uno shook Kesey's hand. "Don't let me interrupt your palaver," said Kesey. "I'll mosey on down the bar and order me up a tall, cold one." Yeah.